What do you like the best about wrestling?
The crowd, the business in and out of the ring.
You didn't have to groom him. He was already ready.
Oh, no!
He was undefeatable.
He was a tremendous athlete. Oh my God.
Yoko was a larger-than-life character in that he was larger than life.
But the question was, could he keep up?
His weight kept increasing.
He felt like he let us down, but he kept going.
This was the Yokozuna that people didn't know.
He will be the most massive presence that our family ever puts out there.
Hello, everyone. I am Matt Camp, and welcome to Icons Revisited. We are looking back at the documentary series, and today we focus on Yokozuna. Ryan Popola joining me, and Ryan, we're both big fans of Yokozuna growing up, but we learned a heck of a lot more about that man in and out of the ring.
It was so cool, Matty. I obviously thought I had a good understanding of Yokozuna, the character, before this, but on that level, I learned so much more. And then even cooler than that was to be able to learn about Rodney, the person, and I'm excited to do more of that right now.
And we have some special guests joining us to talk about that man and how great he was. First of all, we will be joined by the man who main evented both WrestleMania 9 and WrestleMania 10 against Yokozuna. Please welcome the two-time WWE Hall of Famer, Bret Hitman Hart.
Hey, Bret.
Hey, nice to be here, guys.
Bret, let's jump right into it. In this episode, Undertaker talks about wanting to work with Yokozuna when he saw him in the ring. What were your first impressions of the Yokozuna character, and did you envision what a rivalry and a match would be like before you ever stepped in the ring?
You know, I had just won the title, and I was really chomping at the bit kind of to find somebody like a good dance partner, like a good guy to work with that would be fresh and somebody brand new. And he was that new guy. He was like a brand new car that they wheeled in, you know. It was like, mind you, he was more like a big brand new bus that they wheeled in. But he was, I knew he had been a big star in Japan and had been sort of highly touted. You know, I realized after working with him that he was a really good athlete. He was an exceptional athlete. As almost all the Samoan wrestlers that I ever wrestled, he was as big as he was a guy that could drop on a dime kind of thing. He was really a very coordinated guy and safe guy to work with.
And Bret, those are your impressions instantly of him as the worker. And we got to hear so many great stories throughout the course of the episode about, people's impressions of the Yokozuna character. But what were your instant impressions of Rodney, the person?
Well, I remember when I first met him, he was almost kind of shy. I think he shook my hand and said it was an honor to meet me. He was just very humble and very quiet, kind of shy guy that was, just kind of happy for the fact that he had finally got to the WWE back then.
Yeah. And with that in mind, Matt mentioned it a few minutes ago. You guys main event 2 WrestleManias in a row, which is pretty unheard of. The first being, of course, WrestleMania 9. We'll talk about the match. But what do you remember about those weeks and months of build up to WrestleMania 9 at Caesar's Palace, both of your first WrestleMania main events?
Well, what I remember the most, I talked about how safe he was, but we had to do if you might remember, it was maybe a couple of weeks before we wrestled at WrestleMania where we did a signing. When I stood up, he was going to pancake me in the corner, squish me. And he squished me in the corner already. He almost killed me. I was like a hippopotamus crushing an antelope against the wall or something. I remember he totally squashed me in the corner, and I had nowhere to go except for just to get crunched. And he really crunched me good. I could hardly take a breath after the match. And I remember they came back and said, "We screwed up. We have to do the whole thing again."
Oh, no.
So I limped out there and we set the chairs all up and we did the whole signing again, even though the fans were wondering what the hell we were doing. And he totally squashed me again a second time in the corner. I remember thinking the second time when I had to go do it, I was like, because like Wile E. Coyote, I could hardly kind of get in position so that they could run me over. And it was like, oh, it was just the exact same thing again a second time. And probably of all times I ever worked with him, those are probably the only two potatoes or stiff altercations I had with him. But he squashed me good, like a grape anyway.
You mentioned in the episode that the WrestleMania 9 match didn't go exactly maybe as you had planned it in your head. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, I know in the match that we had sort of a part one of the match. This is all in a match that was maybe 10 minutes long or 9 minutes. It wasn't going to be a long match. And then we had a part two of the match. Mr. Fuji had to throw the salt.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you ever watch that match, I got him in the sharpshooter, or what appears to be a sharpshooter. I have to hold his legs up, which is some pretty big drumsticks to hold up in that position. And Fuji's got to find the salt that he's hidden. I remember it's like if you watch Fuji's in a total panic. It's like, oh my God, you guys have gone into the ending, and I don't have it ready yet. And he had to get it out and get it in his hand, and then he had to throw it. And it was just always a bit of a disappointment to me. It still worked fine, and we did the ending, and and Hulk Hogan came in and did his bit, and I wanted to give Yoko the best match. I still think it is that WrestleMania 9 match was the best match, pay-per-view match I've ever seen him have. Like, he was really moving. There was a lot of intensity, and there's a lot of, it was just I thought it was a really good, solid match.
Brett, you brought up the sharpshooter. I know you've always been prideful about how you execute that move. It's your move. But when you're dealing with someone like Yokozuna, you mentioned basically the drumsticks. Did you have to think about that ahead of time, how to put that move on Yokozuna?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I thought about it a lot. In fact, I remember getting the idea about 3 a.m. at my house and thinking about it. And then I remember waking my wife up and making her get on the ground in my room and lie on the rug. And then I tried to see if I could put the sharpshooter on from that position. And I could. And it worked. I remember going, okay, go back to bed. And she was pretty mad about it. But, and then I telling Yoko, I said, I have an idea where I can put the sharpshooter on you. I said, you're too big a guy to turn over in the sharpshooter. So once you fall on your face, if you just leave your legs up, I can try to put it in, step into the sharpshooter where you're already in position. And it's not perfect, but it worked, and it was a good spot.
That's amazing. They weren't together for so super long, but one of my all-time favorite tag teams is your brother Owen and Yoko. And we got to see in the documentary get a little bit more. We learned more about Rodney, the person, how fun-loving he is. You just said it there. Obviously, your brother was notorious for being an all-time ribber and prankster and just beloved by everybody. Do you have any fun stories of seeing them either work together or travel together? It seems like they were a great pair.
Yeah, I do have some funny memories. I do remember we had a flight on Cathay Pacific flying to Hong Kong. I just remember when we got on the plane, a lot of the wrestlers were in the first class cabin. And I just remember going to bed. I remember I slept the most of the flight there. I tended to fall asleep on the airplanes all the time. But I do remember waking up every once in a while, and the whole first class cabin was a huge, giant party. Like it was everyone totally flaked out up in first class, and businessmen were up there. I think I remember Scotty Steiner messing some guy's hair up, a businessman that was like wanted to quit making so much noise. Anyway, there was a lot of shenanigans going on for that whole flight all the way over. It was like a nonstop party. And I remember a lot of the businessmen were furious and they couldn't sleep on the whole trip. They were angry that the wrestlers had taken over first class cabin. And it was a mess too. The whole cabin was a mess when I woke up. I remember it's like, holy crap, there's a big party going on here. But I just remember when we landed in Hong Kong, we were waiting for the airport people to open up the airplane, open the doors and let us off. So we're packed up right up by the doors, and we're crunched in there. Everyone's waiting for I think the guy was even starting to turn the thing so that they're going to open the doors any second. And like I said, some of those businessmen were infuriated by the wrestlers. And I remember standing there, and Owen was sort of right beside me. And all of a sudden, I just remember Yoko, pretty sure it was Yoko, let out this huge, long, gassy fart that was about 2 minutes long. And I can remember this businessman had this look on his face like he was he'd already had it up to here with us, but that was the cruncher. and it started to stink really bad around everyone crowded around the door. And I just remember Owen looking at me and going, class, first class, you know. And we just laughed. It's always been a funny memory in my head. I'm sure that businessman that was in first class, not just him, but all those businessmen in first class, never forgot the wrestlers. Never, and I'm sure he made sure that he never watched wrestling. Made his kids never watch wrestling. He was so angry, but it was just a very funny moment for me. And I've never forgot. I just remember Owen always talking about how it was a touchy class that when the fart came out. But,
listen, if you're a businessman, you have a Yokozuna first class fart story. You know what? You were privileged that day.
It was a great flight.
That's a great flight to me. And
we got kicked off the airline. They wouldn't let us fly Cathay Pacific.
What a way to go out.
Barred. We were barred from Cathay Pacific. I think it's probably okay now, but back then it was it's like no more Cathay Pacific, for the wrestlers, no more.
And what a great example of how beloved he was and how much fun he could have. And many people talk about what they learned from being in the ring with you over the years. And obviously when you wrestle Yoko as much as you did, he certainly learned a lot from you and you knew how to be in there and work with him. But did you learn anything from being in there with an opponent as big as Yoko with his such unique ability that you were able to apply to other opponents in your career?
I learned a lot wrestling, believe it or not, wrestling Andre. And I only worked with Andre a handful of times. You just learn to have an infinite amount of respect for them and their abilities. And you try your best to accommodate them. Bret Hart has to accommodate a guy like Yoko or a guy like Andre. You have to do what they want to do. You can't decide that this is what works for me, so I'm going to do this. It has to be, this is what works for you. So you have to be very gracious to them. And I think I learned through Andre in the few bits and pieces I'd had maybe over my career. I wrestled enough big men to know that you have to let them be comfortable in their own skin kind of thing and do their own things and do things that where they trust you and appreciate that you're actually working with them to make this a better match. And Yoko was very gracious that way, where he could see that you were trying to make him, so he would give back in other ways to give back to you. And you come up with a very mixed sort of match that's good for both parties. And, I think I just learned politically how to navigate those waters with someone like Yoko, where it's like how to make him happy. He was always a guy that gave you 100%. And, I just know that you sort of could have a match with him cold without any preparation. And even him being not feeling 100%, you can still go in there and still have a great match with him. And he was always a total pro in the ring.
Testament to his skill.
It's a great legacy to leave, and certainly you're part of that. Well, Bret, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Icons Revisited, talking about your friend, your coworker, a man you main evented 2 WrestleManias with, Yokozuna. Bret, thank you so much for being with us here.
Thank you, Bret.
All right, nice seeing you guys. Take care. Be safe.
You too. Be well.
Thank you so much to Bret Hitman Hart, telling the stories about Yokozuna that you probably didn't know, and we certainly didn't. But let's learn more about the creation of the Yokozuna character from a man who was very instrumental in it all. Another WWE Hall of Famer, here is Sergeant Slaughter.
Well, I first actually met Rodney in 1984-85. How impressive he was. And so one day they put Rodney in the ring. It wasn't televised, kind of like a tryout match. And as I was to walk over to give him my congratulations, here comes Vince out of his office. And he said, "Hey, Sarge, what an incredible talent he is. But Sarge, what do I do with him? I've got 7 Samoans now." All night I'm sitting there thinking about what Vince had said to me, and boom, it dawned on me. A sumo wrestler. I've been to Japan many times, and whenever we were over there, it was on television 24/7. And I was just thinking of Rodney's size. And so I get to the Capitol Center and I said, Vince, I have to talk to you. I've got this idea. How about if we make Rodney a sumo wrestler? And Vince just kind of shook his head and said, I'll give that some thought. And he said, but for right now, go get Rodney and get Mr. Fuji and tell him to come to my office and don't knock. Just come right on in. So I go find Rodney and I find Mr. Fuji. And Mr. Fuji, that was his last night. He was had been given his notice and he was leaving. So I was waiting for Rodney and Mr. Fuji to come out of Vince's office. And first Rodney came up to me and he shook my hand and bowed and said, thank you so very much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you just did for me. And he kissed me right on the forehead and said, I gotta go get packed. And then by that time, here came Mr. Fuji and he shook my hand and he bowed and he said, brother, thank you so much. I was my last day and now I'm going to be working again. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate your help. And I said, Mr. Fuji, I didn't do anything. I just suggested something. He said, it was a very good suggestion. Every time I saw them, they always came and said, thank you. And that's all you want. That's what makes you really feel good, when you know that you helped somebody out and they appreciated it.
I think initially Rodney really wanted to be a Samoan, carry on that Samoan legacy. However, he saw the marketability of being the first big sumo wrestler and going out, making a different name for himself and not having to rely on the Samoan heritage. I don't think that the fans really gave it a second thought, because when you looked at the presentation of Yokozuna, you saw sumo. The presentation is another story in and of itself, because initially we wanted Yoko to go out with just the traditional sumo garb and not the red and the white tights that he also wore with his ass hanging out. And Yoko was very uncomfortable with that. So we made the compromise, and Yoko was able to wear the knee tights and then wear the traditional sumo stuff on top of that. But even that was changed and adapted to where he could wrestle in it every night.
Great to hear about the creation of the Yokozuna character from Sergeant Slaughter. Let's learn a little bit more about the man, not only as Yokozuna the character, but Rodney, the family man, and someone who, of course, is part of that family, WWE Hall of Famer and his cousin, Rikishi. Rikishi, welcome in here to Icons Revisited.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Appreciate you coming on, man. Yeah, and Rikishi, there's so much to dive in on, but one of the things watching the episode that really struck me was you talked about you and Rodney breaking into the business together, and that my mind just kind of started running wild at the idea of that and how much fun that must have been and all the stories. Do any stories from that period of time just jump to your mind when you think back on it these days?
Well, I think about, a bunch of two cousins being underneath the tree of my uncle's office in Sika, just wanting to, dive into the family business, not knowing if we were going to be able to make it or not, but we knew that we were such a big fan of our uncles that we wanted to try. During the day, Rodney was like a jokester, like, he'd go in there and mimic a lot of things that Uncle Alpha and Sika does. And we knew right off the back then that he loved that, whatever it is, he loved professional wrestling. So it was fun, just a bunch of teenagers, back in the day in the back of Uncle Alpha and Sika's, backyard with the ring, and, whenever we got a chance to get in there and bounce around, and that's what we did.
We just heard from Sergeant Slaughter talking about the creation of that character. And I love something that you talked about in this episode was the scowl. And I vividly remember that growing up watching that, because it scared you. It was intimidating. It intimidated me as a fan. I think it intimidated his opponents as well. It really stood out. I think an underrated part of his character. And it's talked about a lot in this episode that you leave that on the road. You leave that character on the road. But did you ever find yourself on the wrong end of that scowl?
As we were kids, you know. I mean, again, I mean, who does it? You know what I mean? When you have cousins together, we all been through this. You know, we tried all kind of different stuff like that. But you know, shout out to Sergeant Slaughter. You know, because during the time when we came in for dark match, it was originally supposed to be Yoko and Big Sam, my cousin, and then you know, I guess during the time that they didn't know how big Yoko was, but I just actually come along. You know, as we're always taught, you always bring your bag. You never know, you might get that opportunity.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so when I came, you know, Vince looked at Rodney, looked at Big Sam, and looked at me, and they broke Rodney off that day on a single and put me and Big Sam in there. And before you know it, we all had a dark match and we got hired that day.
That's
Wow,
fantastic.
that's awesome.
He reached the pinnacle of the industry pretty early on into the Yokozuna run, winning the WWE title at WrestleMania 9. Unfortunately, with the way everything turns out that night, he's not champion by the time he walks back through the curtain. However, he wins it back a few months later at King of the Ring. So from your perspective, what was that like for you when finally King of the Ring, he's WWE champion and he's WWE champion to stay? What was that moment like for you to be able to celebrate with him?
Well, it was beautiful. I mean, you know, to take it back to WrestleMania 9, that was Las Vegas, I believe it was.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know that because most of our family lives in the West Coast, and so they came by the loads, not knowing what was going to happen in Las Vegas. And you know, true story. When Rodney won in Las Vegas, and then he lost it real quick back to Hulk Hogan, you know, his late mother Leatu was in the green room that day. And most of our other family members that were all there, you know. And when he won, she was so proud of her son. I can't tell you how proud she was to see her baby boy win the strap. Las Vegas, close there by all the family members. And she was jumping up, and my mother was alive during the time too as well. And she was all there. Both were so happy. And soon as that finish came to where it was switched so quick by Hogan, I've never seen my auntie raise up from being happy, grabbing chairs and start throwing the chair like, you know what I mean? Nobody told poor auntie. And to fast forward, you know, when the time Rodney finally did, it was a beautiful thing. I definitely, you know, called to find out if Auntie was okay when he did. And she was happy. And she said, well, nothing's going to happen. No, he's got the belt. He's got the belt. So the whole family, we were just happy that, you know, that WWE Vince McMahon has trusted this kid from Samoa, giving him the ball to run with. And I was just happy that I was given that opportunity. And a lot of close Rodney's friends, BSK, the whole crew, we were there for that ride, and it was a beautiful thing. You know, Rodney, you know, he honored the belt, but he was so more happy that he was able to contribute to the business, because we understand what it is on the inside and out. And to him, as long as he's doing his job, to be able to help sell out the houses wherever we went, you know, he was very happy, you know.
And a big part of that run, as we fast forward a bit, is the 1994 Royal Rumble, the casket match he has with The Undertaker. And when he wins that match, Taker goes away for 7 months. That had never happened before in Undertaker's career at that point. And you're part of that. A lot of people get involved in that match. It's one of the few times, at least early on in WWE, that you and Yoko are on the same side of things. What do you remember from that night, considering the historical significance of that match?
Well, first of all, it was a beautiful night, not only to have Taker and Yoko. I mean, we're real good, close friends, you know, in real life. And, you know, to be a part of that, I was so happy to see those two, you know, spearhead this show, or the whole time we were there, you know. Yeah. And so, you know, to be a part of something like that was important for us, like as far as the family, me, myself, and my cousin Big Sam as the head shrinkers. And if you can see there, not only we were happy that Yoko was main evented with a friend of ours, Taker, and just killed it. They just stole the whole show. I mean, everybody was just one of those matches that goes down in history. But if you see there at the end, after we put down Taker, you'll see their opportunity comes through. And only a family member can read this without speaking to each other. You'll see what we did. We did this, which is the cross.
Yeah.
And if you see that, that was something that was Uncle Alfonseca did a while back in the day with Captain Lou Albano. And that was our way of saying we're here. Where, Ryoko's at his top of the game. The head shrinkers are kind of supportive in that middle card during that time as far as the tag team. So not only we experienced the time together, celebrating friend of Taker and Yoko, main eventing that, and just blowing the roof off of the building. But that time there that us three got together in the ring, we were the last ones, I think, out of that. We did that right there.
Right.
That's something I remember, for the rest of my life. And I get chills talking about it because I can never get that opportunity again. Of course, we know Yoko's not here with us anymore, but I do, take time to still continue my relationship with my cousin Big Sam.
Can you speak to all these years later? BSK is still beloved. There was a reunion even just a few months ago at Survivor Series for the Undertaker's final farewell. The BSK has become a real thing to the wrestling family, and obviously it was a real thing to you, Yoko, Undertaker, everyone who was involved. What did being in BSK mean to you and Yoko?
Brotherhood. People that we can trust in this industry. The guys that knew that had each other's backs. In this industry, it's a beautiful industry, but it also has its dark times in this industry. And remember that every single one of us that comes into the WWE, we all come to eat. Everybody comes to, support their family, and just as happy to given that opportunity by the McMahon family. And, when you come in, there's a lot of smokes and mirrors that, those that you've seen before you came through, you were already a fan of them or you liked them personally. But then somewhere down the line, things change. As people start to make money, as people starts to move up that ladder and given the opportunity to be the main guy, attitudes change. And, with BSK, we were up, we were down, we were in the middle. Attitudes never changed. It was the same person that you knew that was a nobody before he became that superstar is the same person as that superstar. Now he's back where he's at now. BSK, for those that are listening out there, it is an untold story from your common guys that has become mega superstars in the industry, but still we found a way through the industry has become joint brotherhood, as if we all had the same mother. And I figured it out why we became such close friends like that. Love and respecting each other. Love and respecting each other. And so BSK is an untold story that needs to be out there during these times that we are all going through, because it's the each one teach one, and it's always free to be kind to one another.
It's amazing that brotherhood is still so strong today for the reasons you mentioned. You can see it's there. It's a great example for a lot of people. And I want to go back to, we were just talking about 1994. A few months later, there's a BSK match, if you will, at the King of the Ring. It's the Head Shrinkers taking on Yokozuna and Crush for the tag team titles. And the cool part of this to me is the four of you face off, and it's you and Yoko right at the start, which is it's a cool visual. And I want to know what's going through your head at that time. And is this like a personal Hawaii family WrestleMania match right here?
No, that was the green light for jokes is on now. We're all together. This is BSK moment. So even in the ring, I mean, that's a beautiful thing about this. Even in the ring, we all know we're close friends, brother, family, but that's the time you open the doors for ribs. I think we were just now traveling from overseas. We've been doing double shots. We're standing there, but we're dog tired, man. We just coming off this, gruesome schedule, but we were ready. We were ready to go. It was fun. Those moments like that when you're together with brotherhood and friendship in the ring. It's still business, but at the same time, that you're going to be protected because, there's times to where, I'm hurt. I'm tired, but if I'm working against a family member or a close friend, I know that person will take care of me. Yeah. I know that person will look after my injury because, same time back in the day, you get hurt, you're out of the picture, you there's no money for you. Yeah. Right. And so they know that my family needs to eat. This is the domino effect, how we think when we're in the ring. Like I'm going to do everything I can to protect Kishi, to get by. Why? Because we've been advertising. There's a sold out house. We know Vince McMahon ain't gonna give that money back, so the show goes on. Yeah.
Rikishi, I want to focus in on one other match between you and Yoko. I actually just watched the other day. You guys squared off in Sun City, South Africa in 1996. It was just you were in your run as the Sultan. I had two big takeaways from this, Rikishi. One, the crowd could not have been more into it. They were electric from the jump, and it stayed that way the whole way through. And two, Matt and I were looking this up right before you came on with us. It's one of Yoko's very last matches in WWE. It might be his second to last match. And even with that, he was still as spry, as agile, as athletic as ever. From your perspective, what was it like to be in there with him, especially so late into his WWE career?
Well, here's the two kids from the backyard. That's what that takes me to. 20 years fast forward, and here we are in Sun City, South Africa, who, by the way, besides Madison Square Garden, that was one of me and Yoko's favorite place to work when we got there. And that, this is that night. If you see Yoko's hair is still braided.
Yep.
You know what I mean? This is an 18-hour flight all the way from the United States. Landed. We drove 2.5, 3 hours from Johannesburg into Sunset. Got there, checked in, turned around, went straight to the building. But when we got there, we just went out there and had fun. Yep. We just went out there. I knew the big man, we've been trying. If I was tired, and I'm assuming big man was tired, but I don't know. For some reason, Yoko kicked it in gear that night. Like he was ripping me through the matches. Like every time I'd hit him, he'd start shaking. Like I was like, what the hell? What are you, Hulk Hogan tonight?
One of the first things he does is he hits you and he tries to go right for the bonsai. Like he goes right to that second rope. It's great.
We said that before we started.
Yes. So that's Yoko having fun. The big man, once again, it taps into the big man's, the way he was as a person, and, he knew that we were family. He knew that I was tired, and then this is when the ribs come in. That's the difference of these icon professionals. They know when to push your button. You know what I mean? So it was good. I mean, the people were happy. We were happy. And we moved on to the next show after that. But
super fun match. Fun match.
And this episode, and you've talked about it, and Undertaker and Brett and other family members all talk about the man that he was behind the scenes. And then there's that character that is so different. And while you can have fun with him in the ring, we know as fans, there's a persona he has to keep up. But as we wind down here, what do you want the fans to remember when it comes to not only Rodney the Man, but Yokozuna the man they saw in the ring?
Well, Rodney was, number one, a great father, who his kids, first and foremost, was his everything. Kaylani and Justin. His family, in general, the whole Anoa'i clan. As I say this, and I can speak for everyone, he was such, to his family, was his pride, that every time Rodney went out there to represent our whole family, he was a giving person. He was a loving person. That, when I say what he used to say was nobody starves by themselves. Nobody gets rich by themselves. And that's what Rodney did. He shared his wealth with those that are unfortunate, not only in our family, but those that are close to him that needed help. Money was just material for him. What was important for Rodney was to see people around him happy, fed and safe. In the wrestling world, Rodney loved professional wrestling. Professional wrestling was his heart, and he was so happy to be a part of WWE in the industry. And he stood for those kids that are around the world that are big kids, that you're told that you're too slow, that you'll never make it. He stood for kids like that to prove people wrong, that you work hard, you follow your dreams and your passion, that you can become this mega icon like Yoko. And so he was a man of faith, believed in God. And know that, Rodney wanted and always wanted to make his parents and his brothers and sisters happy. And I think he truly did that during his time here on Earth.
They made everybody happy. It was an honor to be able to watch him in the ring and to learn more about him in this episode, and especially getting that perspective from you as somebody who, of course, is in his family, a coworker as well, and a brother in the BSK. You cover all those bases, and we are certainly very thankful, Rikishi, for you joining us here on Icons Revisited.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for having me.
I can't tell you how much it meant to me to have Rikishi join us today to talk about Yokozuna. And we also want to thank our guests, the Hall of Famers, Bret Hitman Hart and Sergeant Slaughter, for sharing their stories as well. Don't forget to check out the episode of WWE Icons Yokozuna on the WWE Network. For Ryan Popola, I'm Matt Camp. And before we go, here's what's coming soon on WWE Icons.
She is powerful. Beth Phoenix, the new WWE Women's Champion.
Beth wanted to be a wrestler from the time she was, a kid.
She started watching wrestling with my parents.
We liked watching Ivan Putski on the screen.
The Polish power, Ivan Putski.
My grandmother was a very small, very conservative, tiny, petite Polish woman. The only thing that would bring out this wild woman in her was pro wrestling. Watching television with her and her getting down on the ground and pounding her fists and getting super animated. I was like, this is what I want to do, and this is all I want to do. I got to figure this out somehow.
Her brother joined a wrestling team, and I said, okay. She says, but I want to join. I said, well, you're a girl, so usually there is men wrestling. And she says, well, I will be the first one to be wrestling.
There was no female wrestling team at my school and never had been a female wrestler. I took a deep breath and wrote my name under the male wrestler side of the sports sign-up sheet.
The coach and everybody else kind of tried to talk her out of it, and she refused. She wouldn't give up.
This is what I want to do. I'm not scared. I'm going to do it.
She wanted to show that you can be a woman and you can have muscles and you can exercise and you can do the same thing that boys do.
To be able to say I was a Notre Dame wrestler was a big deal, and adding that at the bottom. I remember taking this thing to get embroidered and then being like, wait, what? Because it was not done by females at the time. So that's really special to me. It was a big deal.
When you hear the name Beth Phoenix, I go back to Beth broke glass ceilings for women to be viewed as superstars.
She showed women back then that it's okay to wrestle, it's okay to be strong. And when one door is slammed in your face, you open up another door. When somebody says no, you turn that no into a yes.
She would use her strength, which was her strength. And that's what set her apart. That's what made her different.